In just over a month, we will finally get the reveal of Starfield, a game that we have been talking and speculating about for over 4 years. And just because we're going to get answers to a lot of the questions that we have today, most likely on that June 12th showcase, which, by the way, I will be streaming. If you're new here, stop by. It'll probably be a smaller stream, and I'll actually be able to read your chats and have that interaction. So I hope to see many of you there on June 12th. I'm looking forward to it. But just because that reveal's coming up doesn't mean it's time to stop speculating. No, we're going full Starfield mode as we talk about everything that we could think of. And today, we have an incredibly important subject that we're going to be talking about, which is how this reveal needs to nail this performance. This reveal is one of the biggest that both Microsoft and Bethesda will have based on the comments that we've heard, based on the scale and the scope of this game. There's a lot that's riding on this reveal, and of course you only get one chance at a good first impression. So today we're going to be talking about the things that this reveal needs to get right, starting off with, well, simply why. It's one thing to walk out on stage to present something like Elder Scrolls or Fallout. Todd Howard can walk out in his leather jacket, give a few point smiles, winks, and waves, and then everybody will get completely bombastic about the reveal of these titles. They have years, they have generations of established and really passionate fan bases to support these titles. Unfortunately for Starfield, that's not quite the case. Starfield needs to establish itself in the hall of these juggernaut titles in order to be, hopefully, just as, if not better, than some of these IPs that we've grown to know and love. And that in and of itself is a challenge. But additionally, because we don't have that background, we don't have that history with Starfield the way we do Elder Scrolls, it's not as easy for fans to relate. It's not as easy to kick back and go, yeah, I understand how these might play when I finally get my hands on it, because just simply the rules of the world are different. Of course, it still maintains that core Bethesda DNA, something that Todd Howard himself has talked about, but to imagine ourselves playing the game might be different. And that divide further grows when you incorporate the fact that it's a brand new engine that Bethesda's using for this game. Supposedly a larger jump since Morrowind to Oblivion. So what does that look like? What does that play like? What does it feel like when we finally get our hands on it? These are important questions, and it's part of the reason why it's so important to get this showcase right. But beyond that, you also have 25 years in the making, right? What does a game 25 years in the making look like? What does, as Todd Howard put it,
it's the end-all be-all science fiction game that everyone's always wanted to play. Well, we could be the ones to pull this off.
What does the greatest sci-fi RPG of all time look like? Those are big, bold claims, and it's not just from Todd Howard. We've heard it from Pete Hines, who said it's epic and amazing and incredible. We've heard it from Aaron Greenberg.
I think this is going to be one of the truly most special games made of this generation.
And we've heard it from other folks. The random Bethesda employee that Camelworks was able to talk to at one of these gaming events.
The biggest leap in gaming ever.
But now it's time for Bethesda to show their cards and show us what this game really is, and they need to do it correctly. So how do they do that? What are some of the things that we need to see from Bethesda? Well, let's get into a couple. The first big one, and this is a big one. It has been speculated for years. We've been talking about it basically since the reveal of Starfield, and at this point, it's essentially been all but officially confirmed. So Bethesda officially confirmed, God damn it if we can pilot the ships ourselves. These rumors and leaks have been going on, and I know what the most recent leaks have said, but it's about damn time that we get official confirmation from Todd Howard himself. And I think all of us can picture it, right? We're getting that tour of the Aurora or whatever our ship might be in Starfield, and Todd Howard's walking through, and then he finally gets to the cockpit of the ship and says, oh, by the way, you can fly it. And then he sits down and they go through the takeoff and we get into the flying part. We can all hear Todd Howard's voice in our heads in that part of the demo. It's about time that we show it, but there's important things that they need to showcase. If that is what we can actually do, how does the traversal work? How does the actual getting between star systems? Keep in mind, we're talking about a universe where single factions span across multiple star systems. So what does that look like? What can we do inside the ship? Can we do more than just fly in a straight line, like maneuvers and flips and barrel rolls and whatever else you might want to do if you were piloting your own craft? How involved is the flying? Do we control our own takeoff and landings? What role does Vasco play in Starfield, or into the Starfield episode 2, I believe it was? They talked about how Vasco can assist in flying the ship. So what role does he actually play? What if he wasn't there? What's the tangible benefit to having? There's a lot of things. Combat. I imagine it's going to be a very boring experience if we can fly the ship, but we can't shoot anything. So what does that look like as well? Do we need to repair it? How do I plot my course? What does it look like when we interact with the map? What does it look like when we travel between star systems? How does gravity, if anything, play a role? Do I need to worry about fuel? There's so many questions that involve this feature. There's so many things to answer. So next, the big one is customization outside of and this also will involve the ship as well. How do we customize the ship? Is it going to be like the base and settlement building system, but where we get to design the way we want the ship to look? We've seen concept art images actually where the ship was seemingly customizable. We saw the Aurora in different kind of styles, if you will, in different layouts. And how do we play a role? And what effect does that have on piloting the ship, if any? There's another question about spaceflight, right? There's so much. Weapon customization, character customization. I know that a lot of people are always first to download those character customization mods to add new hairstyles or add new attributes or new tattoos and those sort of things. So how robust is the system? Maybe not just a triangle slider, but actually being able to control each individual body part and the size like you can, I think, in ESO when you customize characters there. And when we talk about customization, it's not just enough to talk about the actual physical things that you can see, but also the behind the scenes stuff like the attributes and the leveling up. That's a part of character customization. What do skill trees look like? And this is something that I'm sure Bethesda will show off, similar to what we saw in Skyrim where they go through the perk trees. But when it's been mentioned how Starfield is like Skyrim in space, that to me says, okay, are we going to get a leveling system more similar to Starfield where I use a light weapon, a light gun, and that skill goes up just by using it? Or is it something more like Fallout where I put in perks? What does a level system, what do perks and backgrounds and traits and all these things that Bethesda is seemingly really excited to show off, what do those look like? Third on the list is settlement building. Settlement building, a feature that I can't possibly imagine Bethesda would go without. It was introduced in Fallout 4, introduced arguably in Hearthfire actually, when you could build your own homestead just very, very linearly, if you will. Then Fallout 4 brought it into this whole settlement system. Fallout 76 expanded on it, being able to build wherever you wanted. And now with Starfield, you have some concept art that alludes to the fact that you'll be able to build your own space colonies, which does seem like the natural evolution for the settlement system. But how has Bethesda improved it? How have they made building things easier? What quality of life features have they brought into Starfield? Similar to, and I will always bring this example up, Sim Settlements, because Sim Settlements did it incredibly, where there's so many things that just make it easier, where settlers or colonists themselves will actually build the base while you're away. I love that. Now, hopefully, if Bethesda doesn't do it, modders can, but I'd rather see it just integrated into the game from the get-go. That's what will make me more invested in the system, not if I have to manage absolutely everything myself. Another big one is map size. How large are the maps? How does landing on the planets work? What does the space map look like? How do we travel between that? What do the planet map sizes look like? There were rumors that each one was bigger than Skyrim, where you could land on planets, and well, I think that rumor was proven to be false or revealed as untrue. It's still, there's that lingering question of what, especially if you have 6, 7, 8. Some people are hoping for over a dozen planets. I personally don't see that happening. I think that's a bit of a stretch. It really, really waters down what makes Bethesda experiences special, at least in my opinion. However, it's still a big up in the air question that will need to be revealed, so again, we can just understand what this game is. However large these spaces are, what fills them in? What is there to do, whether you're in space or on the ground? What fills in those stretches of wandering between environments? Because that's one of the things that makes Bethesda games special. Now, personally, I'm still leaning towards a limited number of planets with larger environments to explore, probably more spaced out than the likes of Skyrim in terms of how far a dungeon is from one another, but that we'll have to wait and see. The dialogue system. The silent protagonist. Who wants a silent protagonist? Who wants a voice protagonist? It's up in the air. I think we'll probably see the silent protagonist, personally. I know that some people like the voice protagonist. I don't think it lends itself well to a Bethesda game, and I think Bethesda learned their lesson with that one when they tried to do it in Fallout 4, and especially with the praise that it got in Fallout 76 when Wastelanders came out. I imagine we're going back to silent, but again, another question in the air. But on top of that, the persuasion system. Bethesda talked about how there's this new persuasion system that was inspired by Oblivion's, and it's going to be an overhaul or a new system related to that in some way. what does that system look like? How does it play out, right? They've talked about these features. Any of the things that they've said in these developer diaries, in these Into the Starfield videos, I would hope that they actually reveal to us in the conference. Again, just to reiterate, with the same goal of getting everybody on the same page, really letting us understand what we're buying. Then one of the last things is combat. I really didn't want to talk about this too long because we're going to see combat in some area. It's impossible that they could go the whole demo without showing off combat, so we'll get to see hopefully plenty of that. And whether or not, the bigger question is, how similar does the shooting feel to Fallout 4? A lot of people are concerned that Starfield might run the same way to Fallout 4 in the way that the first person or third person shooting mechanics work. It should be an improvement over that. It is a new iteration of the creation engine. That's somewhere they might want to improve, and I think that hopefully we'll get some of those improvements. Especially with the melee combat. If there is melee combat, Fallout 4, I don't know who enjoyed Fallout 4's melee combat, but I just thought it was terrible. I mean, terrible. I never really play melee weapon builds in Fallout games, but if I ever thought about using one in Fallout, well, I never would think about using one in Fallout 4. Skyrim's isn't arguably that great either. It's good, it's fine, but it's not that. So, melee combat overhauls, please, maybe. Now, the last thing, and I wanted to save this because it's oodles important. It's not something that we need to see. It's actually something that we should absolutely, under no circumstances, see. They've done it in the past on one specific instance, and I hope to God they don't do it again. During the Fallout 4 demo, and you probably know where I'm going with this, Bethesda thought for some reason that it was a good idea to showcase the step out moment into the world. And they have recognized in the past that this is one of the most special parts about their games, and yet they decided to, for more or less, for lack of a better word, spoil it in the case of Fallout 4. I'm not sure why, but there you go. When it comes to Starfield, not allegedly, it has 2 step-out moments that players get to experience, and I don't want to see either of them through a gameplay demo. I want to experience them for myself, and I just hope that Bethesda, they've said they've acknowledged it was a mistake in the past. Here's hoping that they really don't do that same mistake again, that they showcase, skip ahead. Just skip ahead to another part. It's fine. But honestly, it made that whole experience a bit diminutive. It really delinquished the amount of impact that walking out of the vault for the first time in Fallout 4 had. And whether Starfields is taking off into space for the first time and getting to see what space looks like, or whether it's stepping out of your ship onto the planet's surface, arguably, I think those are the 2 step-out moments. That's just what I believe. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the moment that it actually happens. Let me experience that. What do you think Bethesda needs to showcase this in order to get fans into the right mindset? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like, and I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody.